Robert Kiyosaki grew up with two fathers. His real dad was smart, highly educated, a government worker, and he always said, "Go to school, get good grades, find a safe job." He struggled with money his entire life. His best friend's dad barely finished the 8th grade, but he became one of the richest men in Hawaii. Same town, same era. Two completely opposite sets of advice about money. One kept Kiyosaki poor, the other made him rich. That contrast became Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the best-selling personal finance book of all time. Today, I'll break down the core lessons that separate how the rich think about money from how everyone else does. And I promise, nobody teaches you these in school. Lesson 1 is the foundation of the whole book. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. Most people spend their lives on a treadmill. They get a raise, so they buy a nicer car and a bigger house, which means bigger bills, which means they need the job even more. Kiyosaki calls this the rat race. A bigger paycheck doesn't set you free if your expenses grow just as fast. The rich escape by doing something different. Instead of trading time for money forever, they use money to buy assets that pay them again and again, whether they show up to work or not. The goal isn't a higher salary. The goal is income that doesn't depend on your labor. Lesson 2. Financial education matters more than academic education. Schools are excellent at producing employees. They teach you to read, write, and follow instructions, but they teach you almost nothing about money, how it works, how taxes work, how debt works, how to make it grow. So you can have a brilliant degree and still be broke, because being smart with money is a completely separate skill. Rich Dad's point was simple. It's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep and how hard that money works for you. You have to educate yourself. Read the books, learn the numbers, understand the game. Because no one is coming to teach you this. Your financial intelligence is something you build on your own. Lesson 3. And this single idea is worth the entire book. You must know the difference between an asset and a liability. It sounds simple, but most people get it completely wrong. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's the whole definition. The rich buy assets. The poor and the middle class buy liabilities that they think are assets. Stocks, real estate that earns rent, a business, intellectual property. These feed you. The rich spend their lives building a column of real assets, income that flows in whether they work or not. Everyone else accumulates expensive things that drain them every month and calls it wealth. Get this one distinction right, and everything else starts to change. Lesson 4 builds on that, and it's the idea that made this book famous and controversial. Your home is probably not the asset you think it is. For most people, the house they live in is their single biggest investment. But it takes money out of your pocket every month. Mortgage, property taxes, insurance, utilities, repairs. By Rich Dad's definition, that makes it a liability, not an asset. This isn't telling you to never own a home. It's a warning against a bigger trap, buying more and more expensive liabilities. Cars, gadgets, upgrades, and convincing yourself they're investments. Real wealth is not the stuff that looks expensive on the outside. It's the quiet column of assets working for you in the background. Lesson 5. Mind your own business. There's a difference between your profession and your business. Your profession is your job. It pays the bills. Your business is your asset column. And most people never build one. Ray Kroc, who built McDonald's, once asked a room of students what business he was really in. They said, hamburgers. He said no. His real business was real estate. The hamburgers just paid for the land underneath every restaurant. The lesson: keep your day job, but start quietly building assets on the side. Investments, income streams, things you actually own. Don't spend your whole life making everyone else rich, your boss, your bank, the landlord, and forget to pay yourself first by growing what belongs to you. Lesson 6. Work to learn, not just to earn. Most people choose a job based on the paycheck. Kiyosaki argues that especially when you're young, you should choose based on what you'll learn. The most valuable skills are not always the ones with the biggest starting salary. Things like sales, marketing, communication, and leadership. A person who can sell and market an idea can build almost anything. He tells the story of a talented writer whose books didn't sell, and his advice was to take a course in sales. She was insulted. But being brilliant isn't enough if nobody ever hears about your work. Chase skills, not just salary, because skills compound into opportunities that money alone can never buy. Lesson 7. The biggest thing standing between you and wealth is not the market, it's fear. Everyone feels the fear of losing money. The difference is what they do with it. Most people let fear freeze them, so they play it safe, do nothing, and stay exactly where they are. The rich feel the same fear, but they don't let it run the show. Kiyosaki names the 5 emotions that keep people poor: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. The cynic says that will never work and never even tries. The lazy stay busy avoiding the things that actually matter. Winning with money starts in your head, with the simple courage to begin before you feel ready. So, here's what Rich Dad really taught. Don't work only for money, make money work for you. Build your financial education, because school won't. Buy assets, not liabilities, dressed up as assets. Mind your own business and grow what you own. Work to learn, not just to earn. And don't let fear keep you standing still. None of this requires a genius IQ. It requires a different way of thinking about money than the one most of us were raised with. If this was valuable, the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki goes much deeper. The link is in the description. And subscribe to IMM Caracas, where we break down one powerful idea from the world's best books. I'll see you in the next one.